What's going on, guys? It's Barber from University and BSA coming at you with a deck profile. I've been meaning to get this out for a while and just want to go over this deck with you guys. I think it's pretty good for the meta contending going up forward. And I also believe that this is a deck that people just haven't really taken the time and effort to put into and been sleeping on it. So the deck today that I'm going to be revealing is the quote-unquote new INVOKER deck. This is Android 17. He is a 10k. When he attacks, draw a card. He has the Universe of Warriors, Warrior of Universe 7 trait. So all your Universe 7 cards have no specified cost. You can play a lot of fun things in this. Very versatile to build. And then his awaken condition is when he's at 4 or less life, or when you have a Z card in play. This deck definitely revolves around the Z battle card mechanics. And you will stand 1, draw 1, and go to 6. On the back side, he has a ability where he no longer attacks and draws a card. He is going to draw a card when you either play a Z battle card, attack with a Z battle card, or block with a Z battle card. So on your opponent's turn you can draw cards, and on your turn you can draw cards. This deck draws a lot of cards, and it definitely has a lot of very cool features that people look at, and it doesn't look so crazy on paper, but once you start playing the deck, it's very good. The other ability it has is you can pitch a Deadly Clash to give a rival Universe 7 card barrier for the turn. I don't run Deadly Clash in this build. I think it was just a little too clunky for my taste. And I'm sure that it's a good card. Me personally, I think there's other cards that I like playing better. So let's go ahead and get into the Z deck real quick, because I think this is what the deck revolves around mostly. So the cards of choice for this are going to be 3 Gohan, 3 androids, and 1 of the starter deck Gohan. So let me explain this card. This is a 2-drop deflect 15k for 1 Z energy. So this is going to be your turn 2 play. And then when you go to pass turn, he has an activate. Is it activate main or auto? Auto. So auto pay 1 red on your opponent's main phase. You can basically tap 1, and when he plays, he Z stacks a card under him. So you always choose this android to stack under him, and then you tap 1 to play the Z card over him. And then with your opponent having the condition that you draw on play, you'll draw a card when you play this card. He's a 25k barrier blocker, and the turn he's played, he cannot be KO'd in battle. So he's just a really sticky blocker that can block twice, and he's not going anywhere. This is how the deck is going to get to turn 3, turn 4. I've gotten to turns as far as 8 with this deck. It's very, very defensive. The only reason I run this Gohan is because he's a barrier when he comes out, and you're able to awaken on curve against green and other decks that might be able to stop this guy from hitting play. So also late game, he's just good to play and block with if you need it. Just basically there just to get around green, and when Sin Shenmue rolls around, the Gohan counterplay. So let's go ahead and get into the deck. We'll do 4 testing the app. This deck is a red deck, so we're going to play 4 testing the app. Basically, this deck, I tell people, when you play it, you take life when you want to. And what's cool about it is you're just going to negate the attacks that are unwanted, essentially. You play a lot of unisons in this deck, so having this live with Videl is very, very hard to get over, especially early game. Everybody knows what this card does. When you get to 5 life, take a life, play a blocker token, and negate the attack. Alright, so let's go ahead and get into the other extra cards. For Sensu Bean, we play a red-blue deck, so you want to play 4 Bean. This also is very good with your arrival combination plays. You want to be able to be defensive and proactive, and giving your leader 5k is never bad. And they also give you a new Sensu Beam with the INVOKER card that I run in this deck. And so essentially this deck runs 7 beans. Not much more to say about Sensu Beam. So the only INVOKER card we run is the Powers Combined. This card is neg 30 battle card or unison, and it also adds 5k to the leader. The cool part about this deck is you're probably never going to die to a battle card or a unison. You're always just going to fear the leaders. And there's one card in this deck that I'm going to switch to kind of change that to where I don't have to worry about it. It's just not in the mail yet. This card also has the ability to, when you have it in the drop, you can put a Universe C battle card there and swap it in energy in active mode. So it's also free energy when you're done with it. And it's going to be a 1-drop because when you play it, you're going to have INVOKER. I run for the Baby Unison. This is my main removal. He's a +1, absorb any card that doesn't have barrier, gets 10k, draw a card. And you also are able to give your leader a 1k boost when you're tapped out. And if your opponent was to remove a marker due to one of their battle card swings or effects, like just anything, you can take a card from under it and put it in the drop instead of losing a marker. So this guy's very sticky. He's a very good removal system. He's a very good draw engine. And he also enables your Videl Live. Now, the latest addition to the deck, and I think that this is going to change the meta, is the Vegito Unison. I was running Royal Condemnation, and I needed to find a card to get around Cooler Secret Rare. I was losing games to Cooler Secret Rare. And I think this card just says you're not going to play Cooler, but you're also not going to play the game. This card is very, very degenerate right now. Even though it's a 4 energy commitment, this deck goes to the later game, and you're essentially telling your opponent, I'm going to block and negate and counter all your attacks from turn 1 to 3. And then as soon as I get to turn 4, from turn 4 onward, I'm probably not going to let you play the game. So let's get into Vegito. He has a +1, activate main. You can draw a card and play a mono red of 2 or less, which you're probably never going to use that, only unless you've exhausted all his minuses and you just need to draw a card. But you're going to mainly use him for his -2. Activate main until the end of your opponent's next turn. If a battle card would be played by a skill, it's played to the drop area instead. So anything by skill, this is counterplay, this is auto, this is activate mains, this is pretty much anything in the game right now, because Bandai's trying to make the game more cost reduction. But this guy says that if your cost reduction is due to a skill being played, if you play it due to being a skill, you're not going to play the card that goes to the drop area. This also works on Frieza Repose. This works on Oceanus. Anything that has some sort of skill that plays the card. And he also has a -5 to where if there's no battle cards on the board, you can burn your opponent. So even if you don't get, like the full value off of it when you need it, late game, he can always burn the damage. And he's 20k, so he gets in that reach of like Z Awakened Leaders. So since our deck is so unison heavy, we run 4 Videl. Videl is the counterplay of choice, just because we're running 3 cost or higher unisons. She gets around Deflect, which is really nice. because the card says that when you play it, it gets the effect not in the counterplay to neg. So this card is just a Spirit Boost 1 for free. And when you play the card, you neg 2 battle cards by 20k. Very good. Just right now, the meta is a lot of 20ks. Majin Vegeta is a lot of 20ks. Cumber's a lot of cards that are like 20k or less. And it just stops a lot of, like, this deck is going to make it to turn 4 because of this card, Baby, and Testing. Like, there's not many decks that can get around that. And I feel like this is just super strong right now. Videl, definitely one of the only counterplays that Red has left where we can just run a full force sweep. So with this deck actually just running 7 unisons, it's a no-brainer. You got to run 4 Videl. But if you do counterplay with Videl, you can't counterplay with the rest of the turn. So I guess that's the one balance part to it. So with the unison needing so much like reliance to the deck and the way it wants to function, we run the trio. Just because the trio is going to add a marker to the unison, but not only that, it gives you an option to play a boss monster a little later in the game, or even like turn 4. You can crack back people, clear their board. It's a 3-drop, basically, that comes from under the unison. And it's a 30k triple attack if you minus Spirit Boost 3. And it clears, it negs the whole board by 30. Not ignoring barrier, but it negs the board by 30. So you can crack back decks that are on turn 3 if you went first and just clear them. Crack them back, or just use this card just to put under a unison and keep it alive for another turn and defend it a little bit more and be able to get its minuses off again. This card just has a lot of utility, so I love it. Been really liking the card. So the only super combo that makes sense to run this deck is Beerus, since we're doing arrival plays and we're trying to restand our energy and we're tapping out a lot. You always want this guy to be the super combo. He's searchable, and yeah, he just restands a red-blue on your opponent's turn. He's a 10k combo. And he's red-blue, so he sets up your arrival. So the card I'm testing right now that I do want to change, I do like this card because I was originally running the Dirty Burst, which is why we were beating Sim, why we were beating Gogeta, and even like the decks that played the Cell, like Gamma and stuff like that. This Dirty Burst just stopped that. But we did still need a counterplay, something to get around Broly Crown if I'm like left open. It might not come up very often, but this card does also stop like Riposte or anything like that. So it's a 2-drop counterplay. It's in the text, so when you counterplay it, it's going to happen. If the card is 20k or less, it's being played to the bottom of the deck instead. So if you don't have Vegito live, he's a good opportunity to say, like, all right, I still can get my out around your floodgate, or they maybe were playing a card on a turn that you didn't want him to play, so you can stop that. He also has an added ability to come in energy exhaust ignored if your opponent's tapped out. And for every energy, he gains 3k. So he can be a pretty beefy attacker. So with this deck, you just run the 1-drops at 4 and 4. Each of them do about the same thing. One's just a little different than the other. The 17 searches out red-blue, and it's got to be 6 or less. And this 18 searches out Universe 7, and it's got to be 6 or less. So they both kind of do the same thing. She just finds the Universe 7 cards. He also is able to find the extra cards. And he also has an added ability on him. They both have 2 added abilities. The added ability on him is when you combo with him with another red card in the area, you can pitch a card to draw a card. And there's a little combo I'll explain where this is actually pretty good, and you're able to get it off. And then there's also this card where If it's not in your drop and you pitch it, you can save a 17 from being removed. Excuse me. So if she's not in the drop and they try to remove your barrier blocker or your invoker guy, you can just pitch her and save them. Now the other Universe 7 card I runs with this is the Frieza TP. So this card says that if you have a Z Battle card out, he's only one. He's a neg 15, 15k attacker. Sometimes you might not be attacking with him. You might just do it, and he also draws a card. That's the best part. Draw a card, neg something 15k. And then usually I don't even really swing with the guy. I'm more so swinging with other cards, or I swing with him and have to combo something from the board already. But most of the time my leader will swing, and I'll probably combo with him. A lot of the things in this game, the leaders now are like at 20 at that point late in the game. So yeah, no, he's just a very good draw card, 15k neg. And if I had room to play 4, I'd probably play 4. But the deck, it needs to stay at 50, so I'm going to keep, as tight as I can. Now, the last Universe 7 card we run is the Invoker guy himself. He's a rival for red-blue, a red and a blue. He'll be able to KO a 4 or less on play, and then he searches the top 5 for a red-blue card that's 6 or less. So he does the same thing as the 1-drop. And he also is a 25k double striker. And if you're a Universe Red Z leader, then you'd be able to gain Invoker. He also has another added ability to where you can pitch a card, combo 2 cards that are 5k from your drop, and that enables your 17 and your 18 plays when they're comboed. You can get the 18 out of the drop so that you can play another 18, or you can combo the 17 with something else, blah, 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 and you pitch a card, draw a card. Very good cycle, very good aggression. He's 25k, and then essentially just getting rid of dead cards for free 10ks, whether it be offensively, defensively. Just very good, very all-around good card. But I only run 3 because he's like a late game play. Now the other card I like to run as the rival is the Cooler. This is just an oldie but goodie. It gets around barrier, so it ignores barrier and can neg things 10k, 2 things. And he's just a 20k double striker, a rival for red-blue, but it's only 1 red. And he comes in, negs something, 2 things by 10k ignoring barrier, and then they mill a card automatically. So he's even able to maybe snipe a good card with the mill. And he's just good crackback pressure. The one overwhelm I do run is the Vegeta Fighting Spirit. So he's just a 30k overwhelm 6. And you get to warp a card. So some people like the Mass Saiyan, I like this. Just because this can hit secret rares, this can literally hit anything as long as it doesn't have barrier. And I think that's just a little more value. Plus, I paid the money to get this card, so I might as well play it. And the last couple cards are going to be Smoke. 2 Smoke. This is going to be for your unison matches that are annoying or anything that you need to get rid of this scary barrier. And then also, it can just draw you 2 cards, which isn't bad. So a lot of the games, I'm just playing this for 2 to draw 2. Sometimes I'll play 2 in a turn just to draw 4. And then you combo them off, put them to Z, whatever. Card just has super good value. And the last card is the Cooler Secret Rare himself. This is the most broken card I've played in so long. He's a no deflect, but he's got barrier, double strike. He's got blocker. He has an ability to where when he's played, your opponent goes to 5 in hand and they warp the rest to Z. He warps the whole board, ignoring barrier. That's another thing he does. And when he swings, you can activate main or battle, remove 2 of your opponent's Z energy, and restand him. So he's like an infinite attacker, especially if your opponent had a lot of cards in hand that they had to put to Z. And it gets your opponent to 5 cards in hand while you probably have a 15, 16, maybe 17, 18 card hand. Card is absurd. Get your copy now. This card is insane. Don't have a side deck for the deck because we don't know what set 21 is going to be. Obviously, we had kind of an idea. I mean, I got like an idea of a side deck. So Koisakai would be for like your yellow matches or your matches where they play a lot of cards on your turn, try to floodgate you. Your topos for your aggro. Your Emperor's Death Beam for your barrier scary. Another smoke just in case you need it for unisons or anything like that. Tyranny's Cost for any deck that draws too many cards. This will put your opponent to 10. Royal Condemnation, just because if I don't see Vegito and they are about to play cooler, this is at least a good option to have in the side. And it's not bad. Royal Condemnation's a pretty good card. I think you just have to play it out right. Like you have to have the Invoker already for it to be really value. And sometimes you just have to tap for it and it just feels bad. I also run the Mech Cabra. I think this card will help in the matches where you just don't want your opponent to play certain cards, like Vegeta 6, or maybe a secret rare, or just a lot of different things that you can just call out and then just be like, hey, I don't want you to play that. That thing's pretty scary. And then 2 Broly Crown. Broly Crown, everybody kind of knows what it does, but if you don't, you get to, if your opponent has 2 or more energy open, then you can play him and look at their hand and remove a 20k or less battle card from it. So it's a really good card, really good staple for red for just a long time to come. We also got 2 of the Mai's. Mai's going to be your Dimension Magic stopper. We don't know how good the next meta is in blue going to be, but this was there for that. And then we also just run 1 Jiren. We got to respect Turning the Tide. If they ramp too fast and they play Turning the Tide, they can beat you. It's happened to me. And just want to have that out to the answer and kind of make sure we have an answer to everything. This is my deck. This is the build I come up with in about 3 weeks. I hope that I get kind of explained things enough for you guys, at least to get a general idea of what the deck is and how it works, and see that the potential is there, and the fact that this is a very, very good control deck, in my opinion. I think next set it's going to be very good. Yeah, just share your thoughts in your comments below, or always feel free to go to the VSA and then hit us up there directly. Until then, we'll probably be adjusting this build as we go along, and next video I'll probably have up is either going to be another update on this, or I really want to build that critical Goku deck that's coming out next set. So I had a blast explaining this. I've had a really good time playing it. Not much of a control player, but this definitely gives your opponents a little more that they have to deal with. And it's not just sitting around waiting, making plays. You actually do interact and attack a lot. So, yeah, that's it. See you guys the next time, and Barber out.